Hello and welcome to episode 169 of the Podiatry Business Podcast with myself, Laura Condonla, podiatrist, health business mentor. So today's podcast is titled Systems That Set You Free. So basically building SOPs, standard operating procedures that will actually work for your clinic. So what I want to do is I want to, in this episode, show you as a clinic owner how you can create systems that allow your practice to run without you having to be there all of the time. So what I mean is, you know the way when you're there and you're getting asked a certain question or you're having to firefight X, Y, Z, what we want to do is we want to be able to build a situation or a business essentially where when we're asked something, we don't have to get asked it twice. Or 3 times and so on, because we have a system that people know this is what they should do and how they should do it. And the system shouldn't be just in your head. So everybody has a system for running their business. It might not be a great system, but they have a system. But typically what will happen is that clinic owners will have that system and it's in their head and nobody can get inside their head. And therefore they are a bottleneck in the clinic and they can't grow the clinic. They can't free themselves from the clinic because of that. So when you apply systemization to your business, and let's be honest, systemization is for someone like me with like an ADHD type brain where I don't like details. It's not something I relish doing, but by applying this system of systemizing my business, SOPs, what it's allowed me to do, what it allows my clients to do, is to go from typically working 5 days a week, 6 days a week clinically and then trying to run the business to one where they don't have to be there all the time. Someone else is treating their patients for them. The business is doing what it needs to do and they're still getting good clinical results and it's giving a good financial return for the owner of the business. So what we're talking about here isn't just the ability to systemize how the business runs, but also clinically how you treat the patients, what decision making you do, and you can do that within parameters, and I'll discuss that. So there's 4 system categories that really every clinic needs, and those are the patient journey systems, the clinical systems, the admin systems, and the marketing systems. Now, I am not going to go into the marketing systems at all today, other than to say that is there because I have dealt with that extensively. And what I want to talk about here really is those other 3 systems. So the cost of having no systems in your business or no SOPs is that you become, as a clinic owner, almost like a prisoner in your own practice, because every decision, everything that occurs or turns up during the week requires input from you. So you might be getting a phone call when you're at home, maybe even on your holidays. We've seen this happen. I even had a year or 2 ago a staff member ring me while I was on a cycling holiday and I was halfway up a mountain on a hill, ringing me because they didn't know where the system was, and that was a problem that I had to fix when I came back. But the real cost of not having these systems and being tied to your business is that you're missing out on free time. You're missing out maybe on ability to be with your family. Maybe you're getting burnt out, or you're becoming you're falling out of love with your business. And your ability to grow your business is limited because you are a bottleneck in that business. And this happens with every business, and it happens with every business at certain stages. As they grow, they have to bring in different things. What got you to where you are will not get you to the next step. And in my own personal journey, what it is, by applying this, like I said, has allowed me to have a clinic that we give really good quality care. My staff know what they're doing. They have the freedom to make the decisions clinically on what to do within our systems. And it's providing me and my family with the financial rewards that I suppose we hoped for when we started our business and when we rolled that dice and started the business. So let's get on with the systems rather than talking too much about it. So the first one is the patient journey system. So what you want to think about is you want to have a system or an SOP that goes from the first time they call or contact your business to the final appointment. So, for example, when you get that first phone call, exactly what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? Do you have that systemized? So an example of that would be when I get a new admin member who works on the desk. I have a certain script that I want them to follow. Now, sometimes it can be difficult for them to remember the script, especially when they're starting off. So I will print that off and I will sellotape it to the desk in front of the phone so that I know they're then following the right system. All the way to final appointment, what's going to happen? Are they going to get the receipts? We're going to talk about the referral reward scheme, etc., etc. So you want to think out, well, from A to Z, what do I want to happen from my patient journey so that I end up with a situation where my patient is getting a good quality of service all the way through, and that when we finish with them, that we're making the most of that relationship that we have with them. Maybe handoff protocol between staff, maybe follow-up sequences that you're going to have. And another example would be when we have a staff member, or a patient rather, comes into a staff member to a clinician, we have a system of how we tell them to rebook the appointment. Now, what we're not asking them to do is to book any unnecessary appointments. But if we recommend an appointment to the patient that is necessary for them to reach their goal, and we don't get them to book it, then in my opinion, we're failing. And what will happen is typically the clinic owner will go, well, my staff aren't rebooking the patients. So what I'll do is I'll see all the initial appointments, and I'll get the staff to do all the follow-up appointments, or I'll do all the high ticket stuff and I'll get the staff to do the lower ticket stuff. And the reason is because they don't have an SOP or a system that staff member can follow. So an example would be how you get that patient to agree to the plan of care that you want, and then a system of how you get that patient to book that appointment in. So a quick example of that in my clinic will be the system in my clinic, and that I have my clients implement, is that all patients are walked to the desk by the clinician. They're never allowed to walk on their own. When they walk to the desk, they follow a certain script that will increase the likelihood of the patient going ahead and booking the appointment that we're recommending. Very simple. SOP, down on paper, etc., and we follow it. So patient journey system. Start to think, how do I want my patient's journey with relationship with your clinic to be from first call to final appointment, and start to systemize it. You already have one, you probably just haven't systemized it. And when you do so, you are more likely to end up with a better quality of patient journey, a more satisfied patient, and a better buy-in from the patient. So the second system I would suggest you implement into your business is your clinical system. So basically treatment protocols, documentation of that, so on, equipment maintenance schedules, quality controls, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, now what will happen here is clinic owners will say, well, I can't systemize how I treat a patient. I don't agree with that. As a podiatrist who treats patients, I don't agree with that. Typically what you will find is that you're going to treat certain conditions in a certain way, but obviously there will be some degree of latitude. So the way I like to explain it to my staff, and I would suggest you consider it, is when a patient comes in with a certain treatment, it could be chiropody, could be plantar fasciitis, could be ingrown toenail, you are going to have a best practice treatment protocol you should follow. Well, that should be documented. And also you should have a documentation of how often you think that patient should be coming back and for how long of a period of time. So it's almost like we're giving that clinician an envelope or a box that they're going to put that patient into for best practice treatment protocols, because that's what we're looking at here, is best practice treatment protocols. And they have the latitude to change within that box or within that container of best practice. Because that's what has to happen. You have to do that in medicine. You have to give the latitude for them to make the correct clinical decision for the time. But what you're ideally trying to do here is you're trying to make sure that two things happen. One is that your team is always providing best practice medical care. And two is that they're not having to continually come to you as the clinic owner and probably the lead clinician for advice on what to do with every single small situation when it comes to clinical care. Now, you don't want to have a situation where you're almost declining to help your staff with mentorship or with advice, but you do want to have some sort of a systemization of your clinical treatments so that they can then start to replicate and follow your treatment. Now, similarly, when it comes to equipment, you want to have SOPs for that, so that there is, let's say your sterilizer needs to be serviced every 6 months. It shouldn't be down to you to remember. What you want to do is you want to integrate a system that essentially allows that to happen. The simplest possible system I can think of top of my head will be, you're going to schedule an email. You have a particular member of staff who has to who gets a scheduled email maybe once every 6 months saying that it needs to be serviced. Here's the instructions, call these people, tell them this, etc., etc. And then that schedule just goes on a loop every 6 months. You don't have to do it. You set it up once and off it goes. So that's clinical systems. The third system that I would suggest that every clinic needs is going to be an administrative system. So scheduling appointments, cancellation policies, financial procedures, which is hugely important, staff training protocols for your staff. So I remember when I took on my first receptionist, first ever staff member, Michelle, took her in, sat her down for half an hour, explained to her what a podiatrist was and what I did. I said, here's the phone, here's the computer, and if you've got nothing to do, feel free to go on Facebook and have a look around. That was my training. Now I've moved on a long way since then. What I want to make sure is that whatever admin team member is on the desk or dealing in the admin, they're following a very strict system or protocol that we have for everything, so that they're, when a patient rings and wants to make an appointment, that they know what to say, they know how to say it, that they follow a certain script, and that they book the right type of appointment, and so on and so forth. Similarly with cancellations, similarly with rescheduling. I want to make sure that financially we're recording everything correctly, that there's a system for saying how much has come in, how much is outstanding, when we go to the bank to make lodgements, how we handle change, and so on and so forth. And what you want is you want to have a situation where once this is set up, that you personally are not having to continually intervene with this, that it's set up, it's automated, and that your team will follow it, and you shouldn't really have to be intervening. If you have to intervene, then that system isn't set up quite right. You should have staff training protocols, both for clinical staff and in this case for admin team members. So how you would do this is you want to have a training system set up that is maybe online, that your staff will look at before they even come to work with you. So my admin team, when they come to work with me, they will get a recording, or a training protocol or a course, an online course sent to them maybe 10 days, 2 weeks in advance of the beginning. They get paid to do the course so that they do it well. They have homework to do that they must hand in before they start so that they know they've done it well. And off we go. There are lots of opportunities out there to go and buy something like that. You don't even have to develop yourself, but get started on that. The fourth system is marketing systems. You have to have a marketing system rather than an ad hoc system. Now, I am not going to cover this in any more detail than that here, as I've done it before. But what I would suggest you do is you start on the first three systems, which is patient journey, clinical systems, and your administrative systems. So now you know what systems you need to do. How are you going to do it? Well, what you want to do is you want to be able to create these SOPs. So you're going to start with your biggest pain point. So you're going to make a document of all of the things that you actually do, okay? Not what you think you do, but what you actually do, and what your admin team do. So for example, if it's a patient journey, you're going to make a list in order of all of the things that you think happen from the patient and that you personally do. Because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to reduce the amount of input that you have to do. Now, what we're going to do then is we're going to then come up with a list almost of priority. What are you going to pass on? What are you going to do yourself? So I'm going to just share screen and show you what I mean by this. Okay, so we've got our long list. Let's say we've got a list of patient journey things that happen. And we want to draw a box, and we're going to divide that box into 4. Okay, and on the horizontal, we're going to have value. So the value of the task from low to high. And on the vertical, we're going to have how much time or effort does it take, and again from low to high. And what you want to be doing is on the bottom left hand corner we have tasks that are of low value and low time, and on the top left hand corner we have things that are of low value and of high time or high effort. So you want to put your tasks into each of these four boxes. And ideally what you want to do is you want to get rid of the things that are of low value but high time and effort for you personally first. You want to SOP these, you want to systemize these and pass them off to someone else. Then you want to start to look at what are things that are of low time but also of low value. Again, you want to pass these off. And I think you kind of get where I'm going from this. Number 3 is going to be things that are of high value but high time. If you can pass them off, do so. An example of that might be doing nail surgeries, that you want to be able to pass those off to someone else. And then 4th is going to be things that don't take a lot of time but are of really high value. They're the things you want to always keep for yourself. That's the last thing you're going to pass off. So what you want to do is work out your pain points. What are the things that you personally want to pass off? And then what you're going to do is you're going to document what you actually do, how you do it, and then therefore how you want someone else to do it. And I'm going to talk to you in a second about how we do that. You want to make sure then when you've got that documented that you're going to test it and you're going to refine it with your team. So what we're talking about here is it should be something that when somebody reads it, it's very simple, it's very easy for them to understand what is the next step and the next step and the next step. Think of it this way: if an alien came down from Mars and you wanted them to make a cup of tea, what would you do? You would make it documented step by step by step. Do this, do this, do this. Then you're going to give this to your team and you're going to refine it with your team. Then you're going to get their feedback with it. You ideally want to make it as visual as you can, and you must make it as simple as you can. Now there are tools out there that will help you with this. So for example, you could use loom.com, which is a video screen recording. So it'll record you doing something. So for example, I use Clinico as my EHR for the team. And I will literally record myself logging in, writing my notes, and show how I want my notes to be written. There's a systemization of that. You can use software like, for example, Tango.us. Tango.us is actually a software system that watches, it almost sits over your shoulder, watches what you're doing online and turns it into an automated system for you. You could use voice. You could just simply speak into a recording system like Otter Voice, and that will then be used, or even ChatGPT, and turn that into a system. My top tip for you when it comes to this is to actually outsource all of this. How you outsource it to your team to do it is you are going to basically write a master SOP or system. So you're going to write an SOP of how to do SOPs. So you will sit down and you work out, this is how you write a system. You do this, 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 and this, and then you're going to get your team to use that system to develop all of the systems that you want developed. Let me give you an example. An example of that is you bring in your admin team and you say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to systemize how we do the phone calls. What are all the things that we do on the phone calls? You make a list, then you'll give them the SOP of how to do this, and you'll get them to write out this systemization of it. They'll give it to you, you'll check it, and there's your SOP done. You don't then have to do it. This is an example of high value, but also high time, and you don't have to do it. Your low time but high value would be you making a system of how to systemize your business. So what you do is you start on this process. You'll end up with a big long list, and you will at a certain point or start of this start to be concerned this is going to take too long. So all you do is you make a list and you pick which is going to be the one that's going to free me up the most. Pick that one system and document it this week. Once you document, keep going, do another one and another one. If you do this once a week for a year, after a year, what you'll find is that you have a significant portion of the work that you have to do in your business, the stuff that's keeping you stuck in the business and tied to the business, will start to free up as your staff members know what to do and don't have to come and ask you consistently for help on how to do so. So get it started, implement this into your business, and I hope this helps to start to free you up from having to be in your business all of the day and grow your business. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donnell, Podiatry Business Mentor, signing out.